The secret to the good life is not in getting what you want, but in the discipline to pursue it. Ryan Holiday. What if I told you that everything you've been chasing, the success, the freedom, the fulfillment, wasn't as far out of reach as you think? What if the real key to achieving all of it was not motivation, not a breakthrough moment, but something deeper, something often overlooked? Discipline. What does it mean to truly master your life? To show up every day with unwavering focus, even when the distractions are endless and motivation is a distant memory? It's not about following a rigid routine. It's about understanding that discipline is the foundation of freedom, not restriction. Welcome to Book Play, where we transform powerful books into practical, life-changing insights. In today's video, we dive into Ryan Holiday's Discipline is Destiny, a book that flips the script on what it means to be disciplined. It's not about forcing yourself to follow rules. It's about choosing to take the actions that will create the life you desire. This is the moment to rethink your approach. If you're tired of feeling stuck or overwhelmed, this book will give you the clarity and tools to break free. If this message speaks to you, hit the like button, subscribe, and let's begin this transformative journey together. Joseph is 28 and he's stuck. On the outside, his life looks pretty good. He's a freelance graphic designer, which means he gets to set his own schedule, work from home, and choose the projects he takes on. In many ways, he's living the dream. But in reality, Joseph feels overwhelmed, lost, and constantly under pressure. Every day feels like a race to catch up. He's juggling multiple projects, constantly communicating with clients, and trying to keep up with deadlines that seem to appear out of nowhere. Despite his flexibility, his life feels chaotic. He often finds himself working late into the night, staring at a screen while his mind feels foggy and drained. Joseph used to love design, the creative freedom, the thrill of working on new concepts, the satisfaction of seeing his work come to life. But recently, it feels like the passion has faded. The stress of client revisions, the never-ending to-do list, and the pressure to constantly hustle are taking a toll on him. He's starting to wonder if this is really the career he dreamed of, or if he's just going through the motions. His days blur together. He wakes up late, rushes through breakfast, and immediately dives into his email inbox. By the time he looks up, the day's half gone. Even though he works from home, he feels disconnected from life itself. His mornings are filled with distractions, scrolling through social media, checking email, then back to more work. But no matter how many hours he puts in, he never seems to make any real progress on the things that matter most to him. Joseph's ambitions are bigger than his current routine, but he doesn't know how to break out of this cycle. He's constantly thinking, I should be doing more, I should be creating more, I should be better. But with each passing day, his frustration grows. Why is it so hard to focus? Why does every task feel like a battle? One evening, after another day of feeling drained and unproductive, Joseph sinks into his couch, staring at his laptop screen. Another project deadline looms, but all he feels is a sense of burnout. As he scrolls through Instagram in an attempt to zone out, a post catches his eye. A friend he admires, someone who always seems calm and in control, shares a picture of a book they're reading, Discipline is Destiny by Ryan Holiday. At first, Joseph scoffs. Discipline? He's tried to be more disciplined. He's made lists, set goals, and tried waking up early. But nothing sticks. Still, the caption catches his attention. Discipline isn't about rigid rules. It's about freedom. Freedom to focus on what matters and create the life you want. Something about that resonates with him. Maybe discipline isn't about forcing himself into some kind of routine that feels suffocating. It's about creating a structure that lets him do what truly matters. With a flicker of hope, Joseph decides to give it a shot. The next day, he orders a copy of Discipline is Destiny. He's cautious but optimistic. Maybe this book will offer him the clarity he's been looking for. Maybe it will show him how to take control of his life, regain his focus, and find the passion he's lost. He opens the first page and begins reading, feeling a small spark of hope. This time, he's ready to learn. Discipline is Destiny by Ryan Holiday is a book that flips the conventional idea of discipline on its head. For many of us, discipline might seem like a set of rigid rules or self-imposed limitations that hinder our freedom. But Holiday argues that true discipline is, in fact, the very thing that creates freedom. It's the foundation on which we build meaningful lives, lives that are focused on purpose, not on avoiding discomfort or chasing fleeting pleasures. At its core, discipline is Destiny is about understanding that true success isn't a matter of talent or luck. It's about the power of disciplined, consistent effort applied over time. In the book, Holiday draws on timeless principles from history, philosophy, and real-life stories to show how the greatest minds and leaders lived lives of purpose by mastering their discipline. They didn't rely on external motivation or chance. They cultivated habits that allowed them to take consistent action, no matter what life threw at them. For Joseph, this book is a revelation. As he reads, he begins to see discipline not as a set of rules he has to follow, but as a means of aligning his actions with his deepest values and long-term goals. He realizes that the chaos and frustration he's been feeling aren't due to a lack of talent or potential, but because he's been scattered, chasing distractions and reacting to life rather than choosing his actions deliberately. What makes this book stand out is its approach to discipline. It's not about becoming perfect or adhering to a rigid structure. It's about creating the freedom to live life on your own terms by making intentional choices, by practicing consistency, and by building the habits that support the life you want to create. Discipline, as Holiday teaches, isn't about restriction. It's about empowering yourself to rise above distractions and focus on what truly matters. For Joseph, the book is a lifeline. He realizes that the key to his frustrations, his scattered focus, his burnout, his lack of progress, is not a lack of motivation, but a lack of discipline. And now, with Discipline is Destiny, he's about to learn how to build the kind of discipline that will transform his life, starting with small, manageable changes. The lessons ahead will reshape how he sees himself and how he approaches the work he's been avoiding. Lesson number 1: Discipline is freedom. Discipline is not the absence of freedom. It is the path to it. Joseph's perspective on discipline has always been one of resistance. As a freelance graphic designer, he's built his career around the idea of flexibility, freedom to choose his hours, work from anywhere, and take on projects he's passionate about. But this freedom has come with its own set of challenges. Joseph has found that with no clear boundaries, he's often scattered and overwhelmed. His idea of freedom, he realizes, is more like chaos, and his lack of structure has only left him feeling trapped. It's while reading Discipline is Destiny that Joseph starts to understand something he's never fully grasped. True freedom doesn't come from avoiding structure. It comes from the ability to choose your actions with intention. Ryan Holiday explains that discipline isn't about forcing yourself into a rigid, joyless routine. It's about the consistent choices that align with your values and long-term goals. Discipline, in its truest form, is the foundation of freedom. It creates the space to focus on what truly matters. Joseph begins to see that his current approach to freedom has been a form of escapism. He's been avoiding the discomfort of structure, thinking that it would limit him. But now, as Holiday teaches, it's precisely through discipline that he will gain the freedom to create a life that aligns with his goals and values. Joseph thinks back to his usual mornings. He wakes up late, grabs his phone, checks emails, and scrolls through social media before jumping into work. His day starts with distractions, and he feels rushed. Instead of deciding what's most important, he reacts to whatever is in front of him. It's no surprise he feels burnt out. He's working hard, but it's aimless. But the idea of discipline as freedom starts to shift Joseph's thinking. He realizes that if he's ever going to make progress on the projects that matter most to him, he needs to establish some boundaries. Instead of using his mornings to react to the chaos of emails and social media, he can use that time to focus on his most important work, the creative projects that inspire him. Holiday's message gives Joseph the courage to take control. He begins by setting aside the first 2 hours of his day for deep work, uninterrupted time where he can focus solely on creating. No emails, no distractions. He knows this won't be easy at first, but he's willing to commit to this small shift. Discipline, he understands, is about choosing to invest in what will move him forward. It's not about forcing himself to work longer hours. It's about working smarter, creating the space to do the work that matters. Joseph makes a simple but powerful commitment. Each morning, he will dedicate the first 2 hours of his day to deep, focused work. This will be his time to work on personal projects and build his portfolio, not to react to clients or emails. He puts his phone in another room, sets a timer, and focuses on producing high-quality work that aligns with his long-term goals. It's a small change, but Joseph knows it will have a big impact. The consistency of showing up every day to work on what matters will slowly give him the clarity and freedom he's been craving. This is discipline in action, a freedom that comes from the commitment to focus on what will bring real progress. Discipline isn't about restriction, it's about creating the conditions for real freedom. True freedom comes when you choose your actions deliberately and commit to what matters most. As Joseph experiences the power of focusing on his priorities, he begins to wonder, what would happen if I leaned into discomfort instead of avoiding it? Lesson number 2, embrace discomfort. Growth only happens when you step outside your comfort zone. Discomfort is the price of progress. As Joseph settles into his new routine, he starts to feel a sense of accomplishment. The mornings of deep work are making a difference. He's more focused, more productive, and even feels a spark of creativity returning to his projects. But as the days pass, something becomes clear. Progress is uncomfortable. The work he's doing is challenging, demanding, and often far from glamorous. He finds himself facing self-doubt and resistance that he didn't expect. It's in these moments of discomfort that Holiday's words echo in Joseph's mind. Growth only happens when you step outside your comfort zone. Discomfort is the price of progress. Joseph realizes that his previous idea of comfort, sleeping in, avoiding hard work, and choosing the path of least resistance, was exactly what kept him stuck in the same cycle of frustration. If he wants to reach his potential, he must push through the discomfort and do the work that feels difficult. Holiday writes that we often avoid discomfort because it's uncomfortable, of course, but it's precisely this discomfort that sharpens us, challenges us, and forces us to grow. The discomfort Joseph feels isn't a sign that he's doing something wrong. It's a sign that he's on the right track. Joseph has always been a perfectionist. When he takes on new projects, he wants them to be perfect from the start. This mindset has often led him to procrastinate, delaying projects because he's afraid of failing or of not doing his best. But now he realizes that waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect execution only leaves him stuck. For the first time, Joseph begins to embrace the discomfort of imperfection. The first time he sits down to work on a personal project, he feels the usual resistance. It's hard. He stares at the blank canvas, unsure where to start. But instead of walking away, he decides to press through. He starts by creating a rough sketch, knowing it doesn't have to be perfect. He just needs to begin. The discomfort of uncertainty feels overwhelming, but he reminds himself that this is part of the process. As the days go by, Joseph begins to welcome the discomfort that comes with the work he's most passionate about. He doesn't wait for motivation to strike. He creates it through action. The more he practices this, the less daunting the discomfort becomes. It's still uncomfortable, But now Joseph understands that this discomfort is a necessary part of growth. The resistance he feels isn't something to be feared, it's an invitation to push himself further. Joseph decides to challenge himself every day to lean into discomfort. He creates a discomfort list where he writes down the tasks that he's been avoiding because they feel too hard or uncomfortable. Every morning, he picks one item from the list and commits to working on it for at least 30 minutes. It might be reaching out to a potential client he's been avoiding, or finishing a design project that's been sitting on the back burner. No matter what, he will work through the discomfort rather than avoid it. This small but powerful practice helps Joseph not only improve his work, but also build the mental resilience he needs to overcome challenges. As he pushes through resistance, he feels a sense of pride and confidence that he's capable of doing hard things. The discomfort no longer feels like an obstacle. It feels like a signal that he's moving in the right direction. Growth is found in discomfort. Instead of avoiding the hard work, lean into it. Discomfort is the price you pay for progress, and it's through that discomfort that you'll build the strength and resilience to achieve your goals. With his new commitment to embrace discomfort, Joseph now wonders, what happens when I stop waiting for motivation and take action anyway? Lesson number 3, consistency over motivation. Motivation is fleeting, but consistency is what leads to real results. As Joseph continues with his disciplined morning routine, he begins to see small results. His focus has improved, his work output has increased, and his creativity is slowly returning. But as the days pass, he starts to feel something familiar. Motivation begins to wane. There are mornings when he wakes up tired, when he questions whether the work is worth it, or when distractions seem more appealing than diving into his projects. The enthusiasm he once felt in the beginning starts to fade, and he finds himself struggling to summon the energy to work. It's in these moments that Joseph recalls another key point from Discipline is Destiny. Holiday explains that motivation is unreliable. It's a fleeting emotion that comes and goes. If you rely solely on motivation to drive your actions, you'll quickly find yourself stuck, waiting for the right moment or perfect conditions to take action. The key to sustained progress is consistency, not motivation. Joseph realizes that waiting for motivation to strike is a trap. If he waits for the perfect feeling to work, he might never get anything done. Instead, he must cultivate a habit of showing up every day, regardless of how he feels. This is where discipline, not motivation, becomes the secret weapon. Consistency isn't about feeling motivated all the time. It's about doing the work even when you don't feel like it. Joseph begins to notice how much of his life has been driven by bursts of motivation. He would work in fits and starts, pushing himself hard when he felt inspired, but then burning out when that inspiration faded. It's always been a cycle of highs and lows. But now he sees that the key to long-term success isn't waiting for the bursts of motivation. It's showing up even on the days when the motivation isn't there. Joseph starts to make a new commitment to himself. He will work every day, even if it's just for a short period of time. It doesn't matter if he's not feeling inspired or if the task seems daunting. He will sit down and do the work anyway. He realizes that some of his best work will come when he's not feeling motivated. The simple act of showing up is what makes the difference. For example, on days when he's tired or uninspired, Joseph gives himself permission to do less, but he still does something. Whether it's 30 minutes of sketching, writing, or planning, he commits to maintaining the habit of progress. Over time, he begins to see that small, consistent actions compound into bigger results. The more he sticks to the routine, the more momentum he builds, and the less he relies on bursts of motivation. Joseph adopts a strategy called the 2-minute rule for when he feels resistance to working. The rule is simple. If a task seems too overwhelming, commit to doing it for just 2 minutes. That's it. If he still feels unmotivated after those 2 minutes, he can stop. But most of the time, once he starts, he'll find that the momentum carries him through. The key is showing up, even if it's just for a brief period of time. Additionally, Joseph creates a daily habit tracker to log his progress. This simple act of tracking helps him stay accountable and see that even on days when he doesn't feel his best, he's still making progress. The consistency of showing up becomes its own motivation, a cycle of small wins that lead to bigger achievements. Motivation comes and goes, but consistency is the key to long-term success. Don't wait for motivation, just show up every day and let the act of doing the work create the momentum. As Joseph starts to experience the power of daily consistency, he begins to wonder, how do I stay focused on my vision when life gets in the way? Lesson number 4. Focus on the long-term vision. Success is built on the ability to focus on the long-term vision, especially when distractions pull you in every direction. Joseph has been making solid progress. His mornings are more productive, his consistency has improved, and he's learning to embrace discomfort as part of his growth. Yet, despite all the good changes, Joseph begins to feel the weight of the distractions creeping back in. As he works toward his goals, he finds himself constantly pulled in multiple directions: client demands, the temptation of social media, and the occasional urge to drop everything and chase after something new. It's in these moments that Joseph feels the true power of Ryan Holiday's message. Success isn't about doing everything at once. It's about having the courage and discipline to say no to distractions and stay focused on your long-term vision. Holiday teaches that in today's world, distractions are everywhere. The pressure to be constantly reactive, to chase the latest trend, or to satisfy the demands of others can make it difficult to focus on what truly matters. But if you can develop the ability to stay focused on your vision, your chances of success increase exponentially. Joseph realizes that he's been guilty of spreading himself too thin, taking on too many small projects that offer immediate gratification, but not contributing to his long-term goals. Every time he gets distracted by something new, he's sacrificing the focus he needs to move forward on what truly matters to him. One afternoon, Joseph finds himself overwhelmed. His inbox is flooded with client requests. His phone keeps buzzing with notifications, and there's a new design trend he's itching to explore. He feels the pull to drop everything and chase after what's most urgent, but not necessarily important. The pressure to react to these distractions feels almost impossible to resist. But in that moment, Joseph remembers the core lesson. Success is built on the ability to stay focused on the long-term vision. He takes a deep breath and steps back. Instead of reacting to everything in front of him, Joseph decides to focus on the one thing that will move him forward toward his vision, his personal brand and portfolio. The client work can wait. The notifications don't need an immediate response. He reminds himself that it's easy to get distracted by the shiny objects around him, but if he's ever going to achieve the success he envisions, he has to remain grounded in his larger goals. Joseph sets aside a block of time to work on his portfolio, without checking his emails, without scrolling through social media, and without allowing the pull of distractions to win. The results are almost immediate. As he immerses himself in the focused work, he realizes how much more satisfying it is to work towards something meaningful, rather than bouncing between distractions. In these moments of focus, Joseph reconnects with the bigger vision he has for his life. And that vision is far more powerful than the fleeting satisfaction of reacting to what's urgent in the moment. To solidify this lesson, Joseph starts to implement a vision check-in practice. Every week he takes an hour to review his goals, his progress, and his vision for the future. This helps him realign with his long-term aspirations and see where he's getting sidetracked. Joseph also sets boundaries with his time and energy. He starts using a technique called the 2-minute rule. When a task doesn't align with his long-term vision, he gives it 2 minutes of attention, if at all, and moves on. This keeps him from getting caught in the weeds of minor distractions. He also schedules focus blocks in his calendar. Hours dedicated exclusively to the work that directly aligns with his vision. No emails, no meetings, just uninterrupted time to push his goals forward. By becoming more deliberate about what he says yes to, Joseph starts to build a life that's aligned with his vision, not with the distractions of daily life. The more he practices this, the clearer his path becomes, and the more motivated he feels to keep moving forward. Success comes from the ability to focus on the long-term vision and resist the distractions that pull you off course. Prioritize what truly matters and learn to say no to the things that don't align with your goals. With his focus sharpened, Joseph now begins to ask, how do I maintain my energy and momentum when setbacks inevitably arise? Lesson number 5. Resilience is key to long-term success. Failure is not the end. It's an opportunity to learn, adapt, and keep going. Joseph is now in a place where his discipline, focus, and consistency have started to pay off. His projects are moving forward, his portfolio is growing, and he's finally starting to feel the sense of momentum he's been craving. But, as Holiday reminds us in Discipline is Destiny, no journey towards success is without its setbacks. Just as things start to click for Joseph, the inevitable happens. He faces a significant failure. A major client that he's been working with for months decides to go in a different direction. The project he poured his heart and soul into, one that he thought was going to be a breakthrough, falls apart. Joseph is crushed. It's a blow to his confidence, and for the first time in a while he feels the weight of doubt creeping back in. His mind races. Did I make a mistake in pursuing this path? Maybe I'm not cut out for this after all. In the midst of his disappointment, Joseph remembers one of the key lessons from Discipline is Destiny. Failure is not the end. It's an opportunity to learn, adapt, and keep going. Holiday emphasizes that those who succeed long-term aren't the ones who avoid failure. They're the ones who embrace failure as a necessary part of the process. Resilience, not perfection, is the key to ultimate success. Joseph realizes that this failure isn't a sign to give up. Instead, it's an opportunity to reflect, learn, and improve. The disappointment he's feeling is temporary, but his ability to bounce back and continue forward will determine his success in the long run. Joseph takes a step back and reflects on what went wrong. He realizes that while he had been focused on the technical aspects of his work, he had overlooked the importance of communication with the client. He had assumed that everything was on track because he hadn't received any feedback, but he hadn't taken the time to ask questions and clarify expectations. He recognizes that this failure isn't a reflection of his abilities as a designer. It's a chance to grow in his communication skills and approach to client relationships. Instead of letting the setback paralyze him, Joseph uses it as a learning opportunity. He reaches out to the client for feedback, apologizing for not being more proactive in their communication. He listens carefully to their perspective and makes a mental note of how he can improve in future projects. Joseph also takes some time to reflect on how far he's come. The fact that he's able to bounce back from this setback rather than letting it derail him is a testament to how much he's grown. He remembers that resilience isn't about avoiding failure. It's about how quickly you get back up after you fall. To build resilience, Joseph starts implementing a practice he calls failure reflection. Every time he faces a setback or failure, he gives himself time to process the emotions. But then he forces himself to reflect on 3 key questions. 1. What did I learn from this experience? 2. What can I do differently next time? 3. What action can I take right now to move forward? Joseph also makes it a habit to celebrate small wins, no matter how minor they may seem. He writes down every success, no matter how small, in a journal. This practice helps him remember that progress is happening, even on days that don't feel like success. Another technique Joseph adopts is the resilience ritual. Whenever he faces a setback, he takes 10 minutes to walk outside, breathe deeply, and recenter himself. This simple act helps him reset mentally and emotionally so he can approach the challenge with clarity instead of frustration. Failure is an inevitable part of the journey. Resilience isn't about avoiding failure. It's about bouncing back quickly, learning from setbacks, and continuing to move forward. Joseph sits at his desk, reflecting on how far he's come. His journey has been anything but easy, but now, as he looks back, it's hard to deny the incredible transformation. Just a few months ago, he felt like he was chasing success with no clear direction. Now, with discipline, consistency, and resilience as his foundation, Joseph feels a deep sense of ownership over his life and his goals. Every early morning, every moment of discomfort, every rejection, and every small victory has built him into someone stronger, more focused, and more determined. He remembers the moment when he first picked up "Discipline is Destiny." At that time, Joseph was overwhelmed, burnt out, and unsure if he could keep going. He was caught in the cycle of procrastination and self-doubt, struggling to move forward with any sense of purpose. The idea of having a disciplined life felt distant, almost unattainable. But now, with a newfound sense of clarity, Joseph sees the power of discipline in his own life. It's not about perfection. It's about showing up every day, no matter how difficult or uncomfortable it gets. It's about making progress, even when it feels slow. What once felt like a mountain of obstacles now feels like a series of manageable steps. There are still moments of uncertainty, still days when Joseph feels like giving up. But what's different now is his approach. He knows that setbacks are inevitable, but they're not the end of the road. They're just part of the journey. Through it all, he's learned to embrace the discomfort, to show up consistently, to focus on his long-term vision, and to keep going, even when things don't go according to plan. He has learned that resilience is not about avoiding failure. It's about how quickly you get back up after you fall. Joseph takes a moment to think about the obstacles he's overcome. He's fought through self-doubt, the exhaustion of long hours, and the fear of not being good enough. He remembers how easy it would have been to give up, to let the doubt consume him. But instead, he chose to keep pushing forward. And looking back now, he realizes that the hardest moments of his journey were the ones that shaped him the most. Each struggle, each setback wasn't a sign to quit. It was a sign to dig deeper, to stay grounded, and to keep learning. As Joseph looks to the future, he feels confident. The road ahead might be long, but he knows he has the tools to navigate it. And with each new challenge, Joseph will continue to grow, learning more about himself, his work, and the power of discipline. The transformation is clear, from a person overwhelmed by life's demands to someone who's learned to manage his time, focus on his purpose, and overcome obstacles with resilience. He's not perfect, and his journey is far from over, but he is on the path, and that's all that matters. Joseph now understands something profound. Success isn't about having everything figured out from the start. It's about committing to the process day after day, no matter what. The fear of failure no longer holds him back. In fact, failure has become a part of his growth. He no longer sees failure as a setback. He sees it as an opportunity to learn and adapt. Joseph has learned that the real secret to success is persistence, the willingness to keep going even when the way forward seems unclear. The work is never finished, but that's the beauty of it. Each day is an opportunity to grow, to improve, and to get one step closer to the life he envisions. And as Joseph finishes his day, he smiles to himself, knowing that he's ready for whatever the future holds. His destiny isn't a distant dream, it's something he's building with every choice he makes. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to start. The time to begin is now. If Joseph's journey resonated with you, remember this: it's never too late to take control of your own destiny. Success isn't about perfection. It's about consistency, resilience, and the willingness to show up, even when things get tough. So take that first step today. Start small, but start. Your future self will thank you. If you want to continue learning from powerful books that can transform your mindset, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Join us here at Bookplay, where we turn powerful books into powerful life changes. And if you found value in today's video, give it a like. It helps us reach more people who need this message. Whether you're at the beginning of your journey or already in motion, remember, the time to begin is now. Keep growing. Keep pushing forward.